All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a tool that, it lives on the desktops of millions of people. Developers, sysadmins, you name it. Notepad++. We trust it, right? It's simple, it's solid. But for months, that very trust was turned into a weapon in a really sophisticated espionage campaign. Today, we're going to break down exactly how it all went down.
You know, it's a question we almost never ask ourselves. That little notification pops up, says, hey, a new version is available. And what do? We click Update. We just trust the process. But what if that process, that simple click, was actually a trap? And that's the thing. This wasn't some hypothetical scenario. For a very specific group of people, the simple act of updating their favorite text editor basically rolled out the red carpet for state-sponsored hackers. So, how in the world did attackers turn a totally legitimate update into a weapon? Well, to really get it, we first need to understand the kind of attack we're looking at here. This is the key. It's called a software supply chain attack. So instead of, trying to fool you with a phishing email or something, the attackers go upstream. They target the very systems that build and deliver the software you use every single day.
Now this slide is super important because it draws a critical line. In this case, the actual Notepad++ code, the product in the factory, it was totally fine. The app itself wasn't the problem. The attackers hijacked the delivery truck. They jumped into the middle of the distribution process and swapped out the good package for their own malicious one.
So, if they hijack the delivery truck, how'd they actually pull it off? The way this attack worked shows just how clever they were, using a multi-step process that completely preyed on our trust in the systems around the software.
Okay, so check this out. First, they didn't even go after Notepad++ directly. Nope, they hit its third-party hosting provider. From there, they just waited, watching the update requests. Now, here's the sneaky part. When a request came in from a very specific, high-value target, they grabbed it. That user was then silently sent over to a server the attackers controlled, which served up a malicious installer that looked exactly like the real thing. It was quiet, it was targeted, and for the victim, completely invisible.
And for months, this was all happening in the shadows, completely undetected. It was only after the fact, when security researchers started digging, that the real size and length of this whole campaign started to come into focus.
And wow, this timeline really shows you how long they were at it. They got their foot in the door way back in June. And get this, even after some server maintenance in September kicked them off the machine, they just kept going by using stolen credentials. It wasn't until December that the door was finally slammed shut, and the rest of us didn't hear the full story until February of the next year.
But the investigation found something absolutely critical, and it all comes down to this number, 3. That publicly known attack? It was just one of at least 3 separate ways they were infecting people that researchers at Kaspersky discovered. The other 2 were completely unknown before the report. It just shows these guys were constantly changing their tactics to stay hidden.
And man, this quote from Georgi Kucherin at Kaspersky just nails it. He's saying that if your security team only looked for the clues from that final phase of the attack, you could have easily thought you were safe while you were actually compromised by an earlier version. Just a sophisticated, constantly evolving campaign.
So who was pulling the strings? Well, research from Rapid7 points to a group called Lotus Blossom. They're a state-aligned group, what we call an Advanced Persistent Threat, or APT. Now, these aren't your typical hackers. APTs are well-funded, they're patient, and they play the long game. They're all about stealthy, long-term espionage, not a quick payday. And that profile fits this attack to a T. Which, of course, brings us to the most important question. Who were they after? When you look at the victims, you learn everything you need to know about why they did all this. Look at this list. It reads like a checklist for state-level spying. You've got government agencies, banks, key IT companies. The focus on Southeast Asia and Latin America also lines up perfectly with what we know about the Lotus Blossom Group's past operations.
Okay, so that's the story of the attack. Now for the most important part. What do you do right now, and what are the bigger lessons we should all take away from this?
First things first. If you use Notepad++, listen up. The advice is simple. Don't use the old auto updater. Go straight to the official website yourself, download the newest installer, and run it manually. This is the only way to be sure you're getting the clean version and that the new, more secure update system is in place.
But looking at the bigger picture, the real takeaway is that our whole idea of security has to change. It's not enough to just check the source code anymore. We have to secure the entire delivery pipeline, and that includes the third-party shared hosting where the software might live.
We just can't assume trust anymore. It has to be proven every single step of the way with things like strong digital signature checks. This whole thing is a huge wake-up call that the weakest link might not be the software itself, but the road it travels to get to you.
And that really leaves us with this massive question, doesn't it? In a world where all our software is built and delivered through this tangled web of third-party services, what does it even mean to trust our tools anymore? The Notepad++ hijack shows us that trust can't be a feeling. It has to be an actively verified process. Something to think about the next time you see that little update button.